What embarrassing phase did you go through as a teenager? I used to want to sound like a cool, edgy, emo writer or something, so I would narrate things that were happening around me, out loud. I remember at a family event we were roasting s'mores and I was just like fire, slowly burning, destroying and turning everything black. I can't remember anymore because I'm cringing too hard. This one got me. Solid minute of laughter. Thank you. My friends and I all had LiveJournals and we would regularly passive-aggressively communicate with each other through them. LiveJournal entry. Ugh. I can't believe how crazy Sam has been lately. I know her boyfriend broke up with her, but that was months ago. She's no fun to hang around anymore. Sam's LiveJournal entry, the following day. I am sick and tired of people who don't understand what it's like to have a broken heart. I talked and acted like I was from the 18th century, and even adapted my handwriting to include those old style ligatures between S and T. For example, I bought a frilly shirt second-hand and wore it with a waistcoat and a vaguely old-fashioned military jacket. This peaked when I was 14 or so, and no, it didn't make me the popular girl. Luckily I wore a school uniform UK, so people only witness these terrible outfits on our rare non-uniform days. When I was a teenager I was a huge WWF fan, and there was this wrestler named Edge, who would perch in high places inside the arena and just watch the matches for months before he made his actual debut. Because of this, I used to do the same thing because I thought it was bad, but I used to find high places and just perch there like a gargoyle for hours. In trees, on roofs of people's houses, on ledges, anywhere that I could climb, and I would just sit there, crouched motionless, and watch people's reactions when they would see me. The hero that Gotham deserves. I was a stoner skater that didn't smoke pot, didn't skate. I did however wear really baggy JNCOs and not wash my hair very often. SK8 raboy. Thinking that my angst would be seen by potential mates as mysterious and cool, when in reality I was just insufferable and self-absorbed. Yes, thinking everyone's like, poor pretty sad girl. I wonder what's she thinking. I bet she's deep. I had hair over one eye because I thought I looked like Jessica Rabbit. Spoiler, I definitely did not look like Jessica Rabbit. After that, I shaved the underside of my hair a la the little girl on The Crow. Can't rain all the time. I mean, most of us are dressing like the kid from The Crow now, so you're ahead of the game. As an Asian kid, AZN pride was in full effect. I had the spiky hair that had so much dang LA looks hair gel in it. I'm surprised I didn't go bald. Yelling out, got right, and writing AZN on school desks or other phases I just cringe at. Also attempted to break dance, even though I have the rhythm of a wet noodle. I went to a high school which was 90% Asian. I remember when back there everyone's MSN name used to start with Lil AZN. Oh, and one time our whole grade was playing tag during lunchtime and someone shouted Asians only. Bet whoever shouted that cringes at themselves today. Cheesy, overwrought love letters to girls I dated for a month or two. Sometimes I just want to hold you until you freaking crumble. If you have Netflix, watch the documentary Mortified Nation. People save these notes and teen diaries and read them aloud to rooms full of strangers. It is great. When I was 15, well before Avril Lavigne happened, skater boys were the most attractive guys in my social environment. My friend, my sister and I would spend evenings hanging around the skate park, checking out the guys and fighting over which one of us would get to date the cutest guy. After about a month of this we conceded that the answer was none of us. They probably didn't even realize that is what you were trying to do. I spent 2 weeks in the box phase. Backstory, I was a firm believer in be a kid while you can and make school memorable. Also I was just overall bad at reading situations for most of my years growing up. One day prom's coming up and some guy hides in a giant cardboard box to surprise his girlfriend. I later found this box in the middle of the hallway and had one of my stupidest ideas ever. I took this box back to class and began repairing it. Not just before and after but during class. Honestly, I think the only reason I got away with it is because it was religion class and the teacher probably though I was challenged. I cut a hole in the front of the box for my eyes and wrote turtles are nice on it. For 2 whole weeks I would walk from class to class with that box thinking I was solid freaking snake. At one point I brought the box home for the weekend. On the way my friends came and tried to take the box and I actually chased after them. Should have just let them have it. After 2 weeks of my friends telling me to get rid of it, I finally jumped on the box and crushed it. Worst part was this was in grade 11. I guarantee that the whole school thought I had some form of mental disability and I really don't blame them. I still lie awake at night just coming to terms with the fact that everyone from my high school remembers it. Moral of the story: don't. Just don't. In middle school I went through a phase of slicking my long hair back into a tight bun at the nape of my neck. I used a ton of gel to make sure my hair didn't move. I also only plucked one eyebrow and made it super arched. I was super jealous of all the girls who were thin and girly. I look back on my middle school years and cringe. Blessed be puberty. I did the whole dye my hair black. Black fingernail polish. Black smudgy eyeliner. I was a emo dude. But I also loved gangsta rap. So I worked big chains with Batman symbols on them. It was a mess. The cross-section with emo culture and children's cartoons has always baffled me. Your Batman chain, for example. In my time you weren't a true emo girl if you didn't have that blue Cookie Monster snapback they sold at Hot Topic. Manic pixie delusional idiot. I thought by trying to turn myself into the opposite of every female stereotype, super into sex, not into commitment, loves sports and booze, not into emotional BS, not into makeup or standard fashion, not into gifts, said PMS was a load of crap, etc. Guys would be dying to be with me. They were gushed to all their friends about how I was so cool and not like other girls. Turns out that being a big fake isn't that attractive at all. I think every woman goes through that I'm not like other girls phase, which really just invalidates your own feelings, needs, and lets guys step all over you. The cool girl passage from Gone Girl speaks to my soul. There was that time frame where quiet little me wanted to stand out. I wore different types of Osiris shoes, one a navy blue and the other white and red. Wore jeans with gaping holes in them. Some I had to wear shorts underneath to cover certain areas. Used to do the weirdest stuff to my hair. I must have looked homeless walking around school. I went to school in the town where my dad lived, so when I came back to my mom's I had to ride the city bus. I dressed so badly that once a homeless person on the bus thought I was homeless and asked me directions to the homeless shelter. I grew up in a small town in New York. Graduating class of 100. I was always a bit of a redneck, but my senior year of high school, I kicked it into overdrive. Blue jeans, sleeveless t-shirt, work boots, cowboy hat every day. Also got a barbed wire tattoo. Tried to. Couldn't stand it. Couldn't grow a bear or mustache. But I know I would have, had I been able to. Luckily, I haven't found any photographic evidence of this phase. I used to walk around school throwing a bouncy ball against the walls everywhere I went. It's funny how such a small thing like that actually comes across as cringy later on. That edgy Hot Topic phase. It's literally the most low risk form of teenage rebellion. But as a black kid, that crap can really frick with your parents. And just fuels that teenage self-righteous "this is who I am" mom feeling. While I'm nearly 30 and have obviously moved past the teenage crap, the Hot Topic phase definitely influenced much of my current aesthetic choices, so I guess it never quite left. The influence is definitely still with me in my 20s. I couldn't really wear what I wanted until 18, so a lot of my teenage years were spent lusting after dark edgy aesthetics but never getting to try them. After a basic B phase at 18, I went right for the eyeliner, fishnets, band shirts, and leather, and never looked back. I bought Happy Bunny merch from Hot Topic unironically, along with those trip raver pants with the chains and Manic Panic amplified hair dyeing blue. I owned band tees without ever listening to the bands because they looked hardcore XXX. I wrote Angsty DBZ and Trigon Yaoi fanfiction. Multiple. That were over 100k words. DeviantArt. I went through a pretty long Anotlikia Third phase combined with an Iamverysmart and Edgelord atheist phase. It wasn't pretty. Same, with a side order of really terrible poetry. I'm very glad those years happened before everyone documented everything on the internet. I was a very awkward introvert with some surprisingly serious anger issues. Reading back on a lot of stuff I wrote back then, I'm a bit surprised. You are always full of your own emotions as an introvert, and it is super shocking to look back on your ideals and behaviors back then. I too was a scene kid. MCR. Patted. Linkin Park. I wore obscene graphic tees, hoodies, those animal hats with the long flaps on the sides that functioned as gloves paws, had an eyebrow piercing, wore feathers in my hair, fingerless gloves, fishnet, those thick rubber bracelets with band names and other phrases like OMG and WTF on them, seen bangs, smoked cigs and put them out on myself just so I could feel something. RAWRXD. I was also a brony, so I was basically the most fuckable person in high school. Have to make sure all of your bases are covered. Being into rave culture, I had a tongue piercing and wore hilariously huge alien pants with tassels on them. Sigh. Rave culture was cool when I graduated high school in 2006. We used to eat rolls and go party in warehouses. No regrets. I had business cards made, way before Vistaprint, that had my name, number and title of knight in shining armor. I would hand these out, with a smile, to any person that I found attractive, in or out of school. I thought I was really suave, but it is only embarrassing now as a group of newer friends and I were discussing this and them pretty much laughing at me for doing this. Haha, peakness a guy. I 100% know a guy that could have done this and he still kinda behaves like a creepy gentleman. My beard started growing only on one side, and I refused to shave it. Oh man, rough times. I don't know why, but I was embarrassed to start shaving, and I had a freaking furry face for a while, like the I've never shaved before peach fuzz look. It's the cringiest thing that I've ever let happen. My 30M favorite shirt for a while in high school was a baby pink t-shirt that said lesbian on ecstasy in white across the front. I'm really not sure on that one. Your style icon, my friend. There were only like 3 kids in the whole school who were into martial arts, and I took it too far into the whole mystical Asia thing. I wasn't a weeaboo or anything, or a koraboo. It was taekwondo. I just dreamed of learning the mysteries of Kai so I could do crazy kung fu crap. My only defense is that this was well before the internet and lots of people smarter than me believed in that stuff too. Oof, I just remembered my wuxia chuni phase. I would sit in a lotus position for like an hour trying to become immortal. The misunderstood writer phase. I wrote daily blogs on MySpace that were basically just cryptic, stream of conscious drivel. My friends ate that crap up, and I was so full of myself. In my early 20s, when I started dating a girl that didn't know me from those years, I went and deleted all the posts because I knew she'd eventually find my MySpace page. Part of me wanted to preserve it to look back at, but I was afraid that she wouldn't get it. Nuked it all. Thank God I did. I'm glad I scrubbed that crap when I did. Nowadays I bet it'd be way more difficult to truly delete it all. At the time I considered my writing to be avant-garde, but now in my 30s I've realized that artists often label things as avant-garde when they really mean to say it's bad. Till my music is avant-garde. Was far too good at Dance Revolution and would go places just to play it. I also wore those giant pants with 2 menace straps so I jingled like a change purse. Trip pants. I had older cousins that I looked up to. They were into Ike, so they dressed like juggalos without the face paint. I didn't know what Ike was. I just knew I wanted to be like my cousins. So from like 13 to 15 I accidentally dressed like a juggalo. Lots of bad pictures from those days. I walked into my cousin's house on a Saturday morning at like 8 AM when his family were away and his living room floor was strewn with hungover half-still drunk punks. Mohawks, black leather with studs, 14-hole Doc Martens and bondage trousers everywhere. I didn't know what punk was yet, but I knew that's what I wanted to be, and so began my almost 20-year love of punk music and culture. I believed I could see like people's familiars. When I was a freshman in high school, I was so wildly in my own imagination that I had an entire group of friends converted to this. There was a giant enemy animal thing that was always trying to kill us. I remember texting my friends and saying that the evil one is watching me in the classroom. Oh god. Being a brony, in middle school I was sucked into it from my friends. and after humility and life lessons I dropped that crap and never looked back. The worst. You people have ruined my username for me. It's my initials, dongs. At like 14-15 I finally came to the conclusion that I didn't believe in any god at all, and felt pretty betrayed and angry about it because religious organizations felt like some kinda scam. This led to a period of some pretty strong anti-theism that, looking back on, was just plain obnoxious if nothing else. Good of you to recognize. Nothing wrong being an atheist, just don't be a douchey in your face atheist. It's the equivalent of smarmy evangelicals. As a result of my depression I was very much like one of those Iamverysmart people, even bordering the segui's level as well. Thankfully I got my crap together. I think that's why the subs are so big. We all go through a stage where it looks like a good thing to do, until we grow out of it and look back in anger. Rebelled against teen pop by getting heavily into classical music and opera. To be fair, it was the late 80s early 90s so there was some terrible pop music around. But in retrospect I should just have pulled the stick out of my ass and enjoyed the good stuff. And I can't actually play an instrument, so I didn't even get to enjoy the social side of being in the school orchestra or whatever. I went through this really socially awkward phase as a teenager that started about a decade earlier and has continued on the last couple decades. Yo, I'm in my mid-30s and I still can't stand to be in social situations. Now I'm probably just that creepy guy on the block that almost never comes out of his house except to shovel. Huge Spice Girls fan. When I say huge I mean Ray watching the same VHS tape of some concert they did in the Mideast daily for a year. Dressed up in a suit to see Baby Spice at Much Music, Toronto, and gave her flowers. Blew up a pic of me handing them to her and put it on my wall. Complete obsession. This was ages 16-19 and I'm a dude. Maybe I'm still going through it, but the extreme need to constantly put on an angry face when walking through crowds of people and down hallways. I don't know why I do it other than to appear unapproachable, and that's probably a bad idea. It's an easy way to assert dominance. Sounds like a meme joke, but seriously, walking like you need to be somewhere and looking pee about it will make people move out of your way more. It also stops kiosk people trying to sell crap. Beggars. Scammers. Tons of people. Nobody wants to bother a pee off looking stranger. Insane Teen Wolf style sideburns. Iamverysmart-ish speech opinions. Obsessed with anime before it was popular or even socially acceptable at all. Was always drawing in public and my art and stories were awful. Crippling depression, self-harm. I needed help but did not seek it for years. Turned out okay. Married. Have kid. Corporate job. Sideburns of a dignified respectable length. Drawing got better. Realized that my smarts were just shitloads of useless trivia. Realized my smart opinions were naive. Still love my 90s anime. Imagining myself as a Marvel superhero and having fantasies about my secret identity being revealed during a fight in front of the whole school, so everyone would be shocked and amazed at how wrong they were about me. I hate this. I'm 20 and I do this now. Usually I am imaging me singing amazingly to whatever song is coming from my headphones whilst using my superpowers to protect my university or workplace. As a preteen, I was too big for the clothes in the boys department and too small for the men's department, so I wore parachute pants every day. I suppose I could have worn sweats or whatever else, but I went with parachute pants. A few years later, when gangsta rap was getting all the media attention, I got big into West Coast rap. Snoop, Dre, Tupac, Warren G. I was a pasty-assed white kid from New England and I apparently thought the housing development I lived in was the projects. After Tupac and Biggie got killed, the media stopped paying attention and I moved on. I went through a Raspberry Beret stage, and no, I hadn't even heard of the song. Just found it in my mom's closet and decided it looked cool. You're supposed to find it in a second-hand store for a start. I feel like this applies more to millennials than anyone else, but I went through that Edgelord phase, you know, where you'd have Evanescence on blast and hate everything. I'll never love anything like I loved Evanescence when I was 14. The iconoclastic nonconformist that wanted nothing more than to be liked and accepted by my iconoclastic nonconformist friends who were all being iconoclastic nonconformists in the same way. I'm an emo kid, nonconformist as can be. You'd be nonconformist too if you were just like me. When I was a very young teen I was into a science fiction series where the characters would gain energy from sleeping on the ground from the Earth Mother or something. So, I proceeded to sleep on the floor of my bedroom for the next few months. The floor of my second story bedroom. I thought I was a werewolf in 9th grade, recruited dozens of students into a pack and even managed to rope a counselor into it, which wound up with her getting fired for hosting magic rituals with us instead of counseling us. I can't live it down to this day. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.